Not me whistling. I can't do it. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Pundits Punnet. My name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Mad Mouth. Glad to have our regular dynamite crew here. We have a very busy agenda tonight on the network. We have Fire Up following the show with myself, Ralph Williams, and Jeremy Ballrick. I like the way Denzel goes out there and puts that shirt up so we all have to take a look at it.
Okay. The tea party. The legitimate tea party, man. Tacos.
And so we're going to have a lively broadcast tonight. We hope that you can stay with us for it all. It will be stacked, okay? With that said, I'll introduce the crew real quickly. I'll take the lead on Denzel, the first topic or two, and then I'll turn it over to you for the last couple, if that's okay with you, all right?
Hey, sounds good.
All right, so off to my right-hand side, George Eichhorn gets double duty tonight. Then again, he goes wherever we need to go. We're pretty well inseparable anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Good evening. Good to be here.
You ready for two, George?
Yep.
Good stuff. All right. Denzel. Now, of course, he did a good workout with us last night. He appeared on Sports Exchange, and he's back.
I am back, and I may not have Mountain Dew, but my Gatorade is South Florida Tribune Blue, so there's that.
What's up, Jeremy?
In the angles, you're the best.
That should be an actual color. Like, you know how, I don't know if y'all remember, like Jay-Z has his own color, Jay-Z Blue. Maybe you can like have your own color and just call it Tribune Blue. Just dark blue, you know, like I think it'd be awesome, you know, and there's a lot of money rolling in for that. Somebody gets a Tribune Blue like Dodge Chevy Camaro or something.
Well, hey, you know, I'm not a very fashionable person, and I've really never been a shirt and tie guy. And every time I've ever had a tie, it's always been a clip on anyways. But now I take the golf. I go ahead and take the golf shirt route, so I don't have to worry about it. But all right, and finally, Jacob Christner, the pundit himself.
Yes. So voting for tacos. So do we vote for a hard shell or soft shell?
Anyone's welcome.
Hey, either way, like I said, it's the tea party for reality. No.
I go soft taco for me.
Well, let me go over a couple things really quickly. I'll let everybody know the Pundits Pundit being broadcast around the world. The audio version of Pundits Pundit can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers, surpass the 900 mark, which is cool. Now we're under 100. Let's get to the finish line. Please also comment, like, share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Participate in the chat room. That's one way to do it. Or kindly send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Want to advertise cost efficiently? Call me 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. Finally, on Twitter, you can find us at Tribune South. And Candy Ebling is behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, wherever we need her. All I know is she's our MVC, most valuable Candy. All right, good stuff. So, all right, our first topic that we're going to lead off with is one that I'm all too familiar with. And that's right. Let's go with pundits' points. All right. You know what, Denzel, go ahead.
Hey, so my pundit's point
is your tacos.
Really? Yeah, that too. That made two of them, but I'm only allowed one. So, ESPN actually reached an agreement with Theater Sports Network to show college football New Year's 6 games and the national championship in movie theaters for the 2023-24 season. And also added to that, ACC games have already been booked to be shown beginning this weekend, week 1. This actually reminds me of when I was stationed at Aviano, Italy, and they actually showed a Mayweather fight in the base theater. Like, it was great. You know, of course, it's like free for like us active duty and everything. But maybe this is the start of a new wave of, like, you know, people just, sure, you could watch it in the comfort of your own home, but I mean, you could go to a movie theater, watch it with people. It could be on the big screen and everything, and everyone just kind of has a good time. Maybe you don't want to be in a raucous, like sports bar or anything like that. You just go and just watch it inside of a movie theater. I mean, it's on like the biggest screen you could find, not named the one hanging on the ceiling in Jerry World, but it's a pretty interesting concept. Gets people outside and sociable more. I do agree, Jeremy, that is a good move for ESPN. And again, who knows? It may be a new wave of things to come. We may see other sports follow suit on this one. More combat sports, baseball, definitely basketball. So and interesting concept. I like.
And I agree.
Again,
And I'll agree.
Many years ago. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Many years ago, boxing used to be in the movie theaters under the closed circuit watch, so you can always get the big fight. So, yeah, but you're definitely right. This is a great move by ESPN.
Yeah, pro wrestling too.
Hey, listen, movie theaters aren't going to hurt either. They get everybody to buy the food. Is that for free, or do they have to pay to do it?
The article didn't say, but let's go ahead and assume some sort of revenue is going to be brought in.
Good enough. Okay.
I mean, if anything, the ticket's free, but you got to pay for the food, which still ain't a bad deal.
Oh no! If that's exactly how it's done, I think it's brilliant. Okay, go ahead, Jacob.
Well, one thing is theater. Before I go to mine, theaters had to do this because other than Marvel movies and stuff like that, they're losing more and more business to streaming. It goes straight to everything. So they're gonna all go out, and we're already getting fewer AMC's and fewer all those type of theaters. We're not gonna get independent ones left. So you might as well do something to try to get this. Maybe this opens up theaters now that you can do this. But okay, I'm gonna go to mine. Taylor Townsend. This was she's basically a top 100 tennis player in the world. A few years ago, Patrick McEnroe had said to her, essentially, "You're too fat," and she really was. She really was well overweight. Her point was that it was constantly, I want to be someone that big girls can look up to. They already had that. It was called Serena, and she had muscle. So years go by, Taylor Townsend becomes a really good doubles player, wins a couple Grand Slams in doubles, and singles goes under 100, just under 100 in a world. Forgotten. What do I see when I saw her win the second round yesterday? She's lost about 30 pounds and has muscle. This is the thing about this. Don't let your ego overwhelm you. You see fighters all the time. You know this, Denzel. You see fighters all the time. Whether it's MMA or boxing, they want to say, "Oh, I'm going to beat you at your game," and then they get knocked out, or they have a bad thing. They always want, even though they're great at one thing, they want to try to fight Mike Tyson at his, and they get clobbered. And then tennis, this happens also. And it's like, to me, Taylor Townsend should be what cocogauff is supposed to be right now. She should have 2 or 3 Grand Slam titles. She has that game. She should have had it earlier. But ego and pride can get in the way sometimes. And I'm happy for Taylor, regardless of what happens the rest of her career. I don't know if it was her being a mom. I believe she's a mom. I don't know if it was she got older and mature. I don't know what it is. And yeah, she's a big girl. Do not get that wrong. She's still a big girl, but she's getting some muscle on her. This was the point I was trying to make about something like this, is like, you can't be offended by everything when somebody gets there when you weren't winning. It's one thing if you were winning, but you weren't winning, get that. So this is the thing to all athletes, and she might win some Grand Slams now. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's true, but she got to remember this, Jeremy. She was basically fat before. Now she's a big girl with some muscle. It's a big difference. Not necessarily Serena, but she's getting there. But the point I'm saying is this should be a lesson to everyone. Go to where you are your best. Put your ego at the door, then you win a lot more. You have enough ego being the best anyway.
Okay, George.
Well, mine is just, Scott and I, and some of you have talked about this before, the draw of the original six. The original six in hockey, as we know, Toronto, Montreal, Chicago, Detroit, New York, Boston. Well, the schedule came out for national television just yesterday, and TBS, TNT, ESPN, ABC. The Red Wings have missed the playoffs, 5, 6 years in a row? They're on 13 times, fellas. 13 times. So the Red Wings are a draw. And Scott, you've been preaching this, so hats off to you, my friend, because I know darn well that the Red Wings deserve that more than anybody. They're once proud franchise, but no, Steve Yzerman is doing the right thing. He's building this team back up the way it's supposed to be. But 13 games for national television is an achievement with the new hockey schedule coming out. And of course, it's front loaded with all kinds of games involving the Rangers and the Bruins and the Flyers and the Capitals. But here in Detroit, having the Red Wings on that often is a feather in the cap of Steve Yzerman and obviously the staff and the players with the Detroit Red Wings. So I'm very proud of that. It's another sign that, yes, there is hope in this town for hockey to get back to its glory days. It might not be this season, but boy, oh boy, they're trying hard. And I give the credit to Yzerman for trying to put this team back together, which was left in a shambles by a guy who I really liked as general manager, Kenny Holland, but he kind of reached the end of the ropes with the Red Wings.
Well, I'll tell you this also, the thing about Yzerman, he's being allowed to build this slow, and they're winning more games each and every year.
Absolutely.
Each and every year that they're there, and he's building slow. What these teams, this is what I want to start seeing everybody, and I hope Ryan Poles does it for the Bears, building it slow and then getting year after year after year winning, and I hope it happens.
All right, let me pick again.
George, real quick. That move is great. Y'all deserve it. But this is one of these things where, history's kind of on your side. Because, like you said, the Red Wings are a draw. You know who else is a draw? The Lakers. You know who else is a draw? The Dallas Cowboys. No matter how great or sorry they're doing, they're going to get the prime time. They're going to get the primetime games, So now it's going to be up to Steve Yzerman to turn that around and make the best of these 13 appearances.
Absolutely.
All right, let me piggyback off of some great comments now. As if George wasn't good enough, we had two more that were even as good. Here's the deal. Red Wings. Okay, 25 years in a row. Make the playoffs, right? What do they have? 11 Stanley Cup championships in their pocket, right?
Yep.
Who the heck do you think is grateful for the Red Wings' success? Fox and NBC. Because when the NHL was starting to pick up popularity here, the Red Wings carried them on their back. They did. When the Red Wings are competitive and they're really good, the NHL is better. And when the consistency, the superstars, the free spending of Mike Ilitch, it doesn't matter. I consider the Red Wings America's team when it comes to the National Hockey League. Again, I don't have say what you want about me. 11 Stanley Cup champs, 25 straight appearances. What else do I have to say? And the networks know they're better because of it. So they can put them on when things are down, but they're not being down long anyway. See, they made a lot of good changes, like you guys have all reiterated. Okay,
Yep.
They're doing it slowly. But this is something that they're looking for, sustainable, and that's what Steve Yzerman is without question preaching here. And let's face it, NBC, Mike Emmerich, and the rest of those guys, they needed the Wings. Now, to my pundit's view, I'll make it short. We have a very busy agenda tonight. Want to make sure we get the fire up on time. That show will start at roughly 9:30 Eastern time. Myself, Jeremy Ballrick, George, and Ralph. So we have a good show lined up. I want to make sure we get this superstar show going. Very quickly, I'm glad the NFL has a practice squad that now includes veteran players. I think I saw this occur during COVID-19. They're smart enough. But here's the kicker about this whole thing. They have to. You got the XFL out there and you have the USFL, and they will snap these players up. Nothing wrong with having 6 veteran players to go along with 10 developmental guys. So you're able to bring people up as you go, because let's face it, they have 17 games, right? So you're going to need everyone in event. And you know what? I predict it'll be eventually 18. It's just a matter of time before we see a 2/18 scenario. That's what I think. Great move all the way around. I really do. And look at that.
And they make $20,000 a week now. They just moved it up this year.
Sorry, Jacob. my brother, Lonnie Morgan-Roth, Detroit Lions, and the New America's team. I love my baby brother. Great stuff. Glad to hear from you, Lonnie. Good stuff.
Lonnie, just want to say, awesome take, because, and I've said this, Jacob's heard me say this. Shout out to Dom DeRubis. We've said this sometime. The Detroit, Jeremy Barr, like you too, the Detroit Lions will win the division and then draw and knock out America's team in the playoffs this year.
That's not hard to do, though.
But let me go ahead and seriously connect to what Lonnie is saying. The last time the Detroit Lions won a playoff game was against the Dallas Cowboys, 38-6. And by doing so, okay, that's other than the fact that the last time the Lions won a championship was any kind, it was on my birthday 5 years before I was hatched on December 29th, 1957. Also, promotion while Lonnie's on the line here is we will be doing some shows out of Black Rock Bar and Grill Corporate out in Wixom, Michigan. We're hoping to get up there right around April or so to coincide with the NFL draft. So we're working on some details with Lonnie, my nephew Brandon, and my other nephew Brock, and the rest of those groups. So we're going to have some really good live shows. George will be there, Jeremy, and we'll see whoever else comes along the way. So, yeah, I mean, it's wishful thinking. Right now, I'd like to see another playoff win, but if they're America's team, hey, you know what? They at least on Thanksgiving, and you're guaranteed one game a year. So,
and Denzel, what do you think of this? Trey Lance being the quarterback of that playoff game.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
No. Let's not bring religion in here now. Otherwise, I'm going to get Satan.
Why do you say that, Jacob? Are you wishing Dak gets hurt?
No, I never wish on anything like that.
I was just wondering why you said it that way, though.
No, I'm just saying, just imagine that, because he could get hurt anyway.
If Trey Lance is quarterback in that playoff game, you could put George Eichhorn under center for the Lions, and they win by 2 touchdowns.
Well, even with, you got to realize, if he becomes the quarterback, he's going to lose even more hair than he already has.
I'll stick with Teddy Bridgewater.
All right, well, why don't let's move on to our first topic. We got 4 strong ones, and this is one that hits me a little bit closer than most of the other ones that are out there. We're going to talk about the Pensacola-Bluewahoos put their entire stadium on Airbnb. Well, there's a history with this, okay? I know the owner, quintstuder, real well, and he did this before to make sure that he was able to gain some income during COVID-19. And you want to talk about a shrewd businessman, quintstuder is it. This guy owns the Pensacola-Bluewahoos, and he also owns the Beloit Snappers. So, believe it or not, our affiliate with the Miami Marlins. So he's done this before, and now what's interesting about the fact is, number one, what makes Quint such a stand-up guy is when I had him on one of my shows a long time ago, he told me that I would be more than happy to host me to do some broadcasting up there, and I did like 4 to 6 innings, trying to remember, with Joe Garagiola's grandson, Chris Garagiola. So, first of all, quintstuder is a man of his word. It was neat to be able to go to a few games up in Pensacola, and he runs a first-class operation. Make matters even interesting, his name is all plastered all over Pensacola all day long. So, he's obviously a very community-oriented individual. So, let's turn up the clock. Now, the Pensacola-Bluewahoos, as I mentioned, AA affiliate of the Miami Marlins, have their entire stadium listed on Airbnb. But here's what you're going to get, okay? For $5,143 a night, the rental includes 10 beds in the clubhouse, full access to the field all night, batting practice, food, merchandise add-ons, full tour, on-call staff. Now, here's what's interesting about that. It's not a bad value if you have 10 people contributing to it. But the real kicker, if you haven't been to Pensacola, Florida at all, okay, is that ballpark is situated on a body of water. And if that isn't one of the prettiest locations I've ever seen a stadium, especially in a smaller community, find me one. Blue Wahoo Stadium should be on any baseball bucket list, especially if you're traveling ballparks. It's that good. But yeah, Jeremy, you're right. Okay, this is a very savvy move for quintstuder. But again, and here's the thing. My brother-in-law, Steve Ebling, went ahead and introduced me to him. And you want to talk about the powerful nature of LinkedIn. I met him on LinkedIn, and he does a pretty good job returning messages. So, Quint, if you're out there listening to the show, great. You'll always have my deepest thanks, not only for the play-by-play, but the ability to do a show together and all we've done. And time will tell if him and I have time to do more. But it's been great. Hope to add more to the equation. With that said, that's what you got. A very shrewd businessman going back to the Airbnb situation and something that he used for revenue when things were down during COVID-19. And now he's back at it again. That's what I've got to say. That's why I want to take the lead on this. So you know what? I'm going to flip over my partner, George Eichor. What are your thoughts about what quintstuder did?
Well, it's very creative, I got to admit. I wonder about liability, insurance. You get a bunch of younger people that take over and they wreck the place. I mean, is he thinking about all of the other things that could happen? We had a situation when the Sky Dome was first open, where a couple were making love way in the hotel room in center field. Okay, so they had to change the hotel arrangements out in center field in Toronto. I mean, it's a creative idea, but I hope he's got plans for extra security. And, there could be a lot of things going on there overnight. And, he's got a stadium that he's got to protect. It's an asset. I'm just speaking out loud here. I mean, he's got to make sure he's got, as the saying goes, all his bases covered.
But
so did the two people in Lake of Love.
Here, you know what Quint's answer will most likely tell you? Okay, sure. Been there, done that. Okay, did it before COVID-19. He knows what he's doing. You guys can only take my word because I've interacted with him, but been there, done that, and this guy will know the insurance ins and outs.
Now, are you saying it's one person at 5,100, or it could be 10 people? Or do they all have to pay?
You have 10 beds, so I imagine he's going to be able to rent it out to multiple people. Okay. I said 10 beds. Okay, that means, I'm not a math genius and I'll never pretend to be one. Let's keep it interesting in the family. My late father-in-law, Fred Ebling, was a math teacher, although I never passed his class anyways. Thank God I got his daughter instead. But still.
It's $510 a piece for 10 people then. Okay, I got you.
And with those accommodations, and he's been there, done that before. You got to go out there and look at the Facebook posts or anything connected. You talk about the most scenic. Don't worry. Been there, done that is what they'll probably tell you. All right, Denzel.
Man, I'm hearing all of this, and I'm hearing a little bit of like Jerry Jones, Jerry World type deal,
Right.
I mean, it's not a bad deal, 5K a night. The guests are actually allowed in the clubhouse. They got TVs, couches, ping pong tables. Of course, you can order food and beverage packages. Anyone who's ever, because they do the same thing with cruise tickets. If you want a drink package, you got to buy it and add on to it. So, I mean, I love his mind behind it. And I agree, like all of the stuff that, George mentioned and whatnot. But being a business owner for as long as he always has to, just like with any business decision, he has to take the cons into consideration as well before forming his decision. Okay, do the pros outweigh the cons? Okay, then all right, we'll go ahead, because nothing's perfect, right? Well, the pros outweigh the cons. We'll just deal with the little stuff. Cross that bridge when we get there. We'll go ahead and go. If the cons outweigh the pros, nope, it's a no-go. So I'm sure
unless you're Dan Snyder.
Yeah, of course. But and not only that, but he's not the only one. He may be a shrewd operator, but he's not the only one. He has advisors around him, I'm sure, that give him the ins and outs about this whole thing. Overall, I like it. I really do. It gives people a great experience. And wow, the fact that it's situated on a body of water is like amazing. So no, this is great. Really great for the Pensacola Blue Wahoos.
One of the most prettiest scenes I've ever seen when you talk about baseball and water. I know we have other ones in MLB, but let me tell you what, talk about the intimacy of this place. It's just unbelievable. It just is. Intimacy, water, ballpark. Google up Blue Wahoo Stadium. You'll see the pictures. I don't have to sit here and lie. Not that I would, but the pictures are worth 1,000 words, and you'll have plenty of them by checking it out. So last but not least, Jacob, go ahead.
Well, I can say this: that couple that was making love in Toronto definitely had their bases covered. That's the only thing they had covered. But the biggest thing, but the biggest thing though is you think about something like this. This sounds like a dream bachelor party for Frank the Tank from Barstool if he could get a woman. He could find 10 friends to do this. But he ain't gonna get a woman to have a bachelor party, so he's just gonna do this on its own. Because all you're seeing with him going on to YouTube, or not YouTube, but on Twitter is him screaming at the Mets all the time. I don't know how many women want to put up with that. But the biggest thing with this is the fact that bringing up the Frank the Tank jokes, let's just say it with anybody else. There are so many people now. Now that you have 10 people, it's going to be a bachelor party. It's going to be all that for them, and that's going to be wonderful. How long before Allegiant Stadium gets something like this? One day.
2 years max.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know.
2 years.
How long before they do? And we got to remember this. Think about all the others that will start to get it. We've always talked about this. We were talking about this on our chat this morning, George, about the Bears leaving, and they have to go to a place that can build their real estate and all that kind of stuff. This all making sense. Do something like this. You got real estate around. You don't have to go anywhere. You can just walk the whole thing to go back. There's that right there. That's just the main thing that they're going to be looking at. And speaking of, by the way, my brother just told me he's going to go to Allegiant Stadium. He's going to beat me to it. He's going to Allegiant Stadium for a game. I think it's Seahawks. Against the Seahawks, because I think he's going to go for a business thing, and he's going. And he gets to go to Allegiant before I do.
Oh.
Good for him, but man, it's jealousy. but no, something like these. We can bring 1,000. Anything with real estate around it, it's going to get an Airbnb eventually, because all you have to do is walk the city and walk back. There's no driving,
All right.
and then you could drink all the time. So you're walking, you don't have to drive, and even if you do go a little farther, you can go Uber, if you're not an idiot.
Yeah. Exactly.
So there's just a lot to all of this that you can be able to do. There's new ways of making money now.
No doubt. All right. Let's go on to the next topic. Another one that is going to land in my book. Okay. And that's this. Talk about Amazon and early talks for streaming partnership with ESPN. They're saying the rates are going to go between $20 and $35 a month. Here's the situation with this. Okay. The rates, I think, are going to be dependent on a couple of things. Number one, on the higher side, if this partnership eventually goes to fruition, right? It's going to include the NBA and NHL, which would be dynamite for Amazon to add. I don't know what they would do with some of the ESPN shows. I don't know whether there's any interest in them. So I won't say any comment one way or the other on it. But you think about it. What could make this a very enticing move for these two to be partners, college football, NBA, NHL. And they already have the NFL. So again, this is just another indication here of where streaming is going. And when you have Amazon and ESPN talking about it, that's for this age range. This price range is. Now, if I were going to make an uneducated guess, I would say the more properties that you have, I would say it'll be 35 on the high side, not 20. But that's just my opinion. And yes, this will be added to my new book that'll be coming out eventually called Old School Media versus New School Media in the streaming section. But when you brought this up, the timing could not have been more impeccable than that. So what I'm going to do again, and then Denzel, you're going to take over the next two topics after this round, okay?
Roger.
George Eichhorn, let's talk about Amazon and ESPN. Do you think that's a good fit?
Well, being old school, I'd rather not see it happen, but I think that it sounds like it might be a good fit. Two very, very good brand names, obviously, would be hooking up. Don't forget you got some golf coverage too, and you got some tennis. So I don't know where all those other ESPN/ABC sports and college bowl games, of course, they've got such a busy schedule, ESPN. I do think that it is obviously the wave of the future. We've seen with Peacock, we've seen it with Apple, and the leagues have tested out in the last few years, baseball and NFL, and it's just going to be the wave of the future, despite the fact that old guys like me are not used to it. But network TV, as we know it today and have known it for years and years, is obviously going to be a thing of the past before too long. But if they can keep the price reasonable and in that $35-$40 range, I mean, that's reasonable for most folks. I don't know if the big the championship events would be on there, but it could happen. We could have those on there as well. I mean, the title games.
Yeah.
We'll
Denzel.
see, but it does sound like it could work.
All right, Dens.
I will say this much when I read up on it. At $35 a month, it would be the most expensive streaming service in the United States.
Right.
Now, with that being said, and everyone's situation is pretty different. If you're, you don't really watch that much sports, you might watch one, okay? Or maybe you're the type that's like, oh, well, unless the Raiders are playing, I don't care, then this isn't for you, okay? Now, if you're a heavy sports head, like then definitely this would be for you because, like George said, you get everything. Scott said, you get everything. You even get the biggest games on the biggest stages. All wrapped up in one package. This adds on to the theory that I talked to Jacob about a while back, and Jacob, you remember when I say this. I haven't told Scott, George, I haven't told you, and I'm gonna just say this right now. I foresee within the next 10 years cable TV being obsolete. Think about it.
I said before that. I said to you before that, but yes.
Yeah,
Denzel,
think about it.
Denzel, that's a no-brainer. I agree with you 100%. And here's the thing. When I first got into cable TV, believe it or not, you ready for this story? I love stories. Okay. In 1979, I was up at Michigan State University. I was staying with some friends. The first time I ever saw SportsCenter was hanging out with a couple of friends of mine from a restaurant I used to work at. They let me stay with them. And that was the first time I ever saw ESPN SportsCenter. Chris Berman was the announcer. I think Bob Lee was on there, George Grant, and a lot of those old timers. They were fantastic. But no, you know what? 10 years, Denzel, or earlier, you're on target.
And I mean, I can say that because, 7 years ago, I used to install. I was a technician for DirecTV, and so we would sell these packages all the time. And the typical package was $120. Now you look at it like this: if you don't watch that much TV, you only watch maybe 4 channels, like say ESPN, NBC, Fox. All right, you know what I mean? You're watching 4 channels. You're paying $120 a month. All Fox, NBC, CBS, ESPN, they all got their own streaming service and everything, and they're going for about $9.99 a month max. Okay, so you could pay $120 for all these channels you don't watch, or you can watch the 4 that you do and only pay $36 to $40. This is why cable TV will become obsolete at some point. They'll come out with something to where people can still buy pay-per-views, but that's as far as it's going. And even then, people are checking into the Zone for boxing, Peacock for pro wrestling and everything.
the UFC app, WWE app.
Exactly. Cable TV, gone. And this right here just may lead the charge.
Okay. All right, Jacob, you got last word on this one. Then we
okay, a little story. I was going to go. It was the Bears game, the last Bears game of the preseason, and they have the Bears bar. It's called Bobby G's. That's my little shill for that, the free shill for that, of course. Beautiful place, great food, great chili dogs, great beef, everything. I'd recommend it. So I was going to go over there. We could watch the final one. Meanwhile, while I'm getting over there, I've got it on the NFL Network on my phone. You get my point? It's on the thing. Game's on. It's about 4 miles down the road, so I'm just driving it. Bingo. End of story. Getting all that stuff. I'm expecting to go on in. I'll go to the bar or I'll go to the table and go get a chili dog and fries. I'm expecting that. You know what's on? Did you remember they got DirecTV? You want to know what's on? Kansas City and Cleveland, or whatever that game was. And I talked to some of the Bears guys. They said we found out the game's tomorrow. Meanwhile, I carried my phone out. It was still a full house, but 8 other people go out the door with me. We're watching the games. So 3 of them were looking at my score, looking at my thing because I'm watching it. And this is on a phone. And this is the point about something. This is where it's going to die. Why did I need to wait at a bar or wait till tomorrow? I was watching it.
Yeah.
That was streaming. So will people pay $35 for the NFL? Oh, good Lord, yes. It's like you want to know what stations right now, and you can understand this, guys. You know what stations you see the most? But if you go to a 100-station thing for cable right now, mostly Get TV, MeTV, local stations, cable access with the city councils, and then here's the thing. You still get the regular ESPNs and CNNs, but they're getting watched on apps. And it's like, and meanwhile, the cable's $185 a month.
Right.
And they still won't lower it. It is going away.
Yeah.
Right.
And then,
Well, you know what?
I'm sorry.
Let me add one thing to this. Sorry, Denzel. This came to my mind, so I just want to incorporate it. With all the issues right now going on with Valley Sports, and you're wondering about that situation, this could be an opportunity for Amazon to get into the baseball business. You just never know.
Well, Apple already
Luckily-
has. Apple's kind of gotten some, they
yeah,
do
Apple's
Friday
got the
and Saturday
contract
nights.
with
Yeah, but I'm
MLB
also
already.
talking about, but Jacob, my point is, with all the local regionalized Valley's sports networks
Yeah.
that you have, you just never know whether Amazon's going to see an opening and get into it. That's all I have to say. All right, Den, sorry to interrupt you. The thought was tempered my tongue. I had to make sure it got out there.
Oh, well, one quick thing, and going back to my experience as a technician, is you drive down like these neighborhoods and you see these pretty DirecTV and Dish Network dishes that are mounted on houses and everything, right? Let me just remind everybody that whenever there's inclement weather, guys like me had to go out there and actually fix it, because whenever it's too windy or if it snows or if it's rainy, it will throw the dish off of alignment and you lose signal. So what that means is I got to go out there, repeat the dish, lock it back into place, and then boom, you get signal again. But you can eliminate all of that if you just stream. When you're streaming, all you need is running internet. That's it. So that's another factor as to why I believe it's going away.
Also, it'll save you on cuss words, the energy of cuss words when you're not going out there.
So now we got a broadcaster / technician. Jeez, oh, Pete, how more credible is it? You put this stuff together, I got to let you have
We
the
don't
last
call
word.
anybody, Denzel. We just wait for it to clear up on its own. I'm not trying to contradict you, but we don't call anybody. And we
No. What they do
Dish.
is they open the New York Times or whatever they're reading, the Detroit Free Press, and they're opening and seeing if the schools are out tomorrow.
So Denzel's a jack of all trades, and he's about to go ahead and take the lead for the rest of the show. All right, Denzel, take it away.
All right. Tag team partner just tagged me in, and I'm in. So, number 3, once again, Lionel Messi making the news. So, in the last month, in 1 month, he brought in $200 million in 1 month of $200 million of revenue. The last game that was streamed was actually in Times Square on one of the 100 big screens they have out there. Now, I want everybody to keep in mind that Inter Miami is on their way to the top in a hurry, because Lionel Messi just brought in $200 million in 1 month. Last year, Inter Miami ranked 10th in the league at $585 million worth. So, is it fair to say that they reached the top 3 or even number 1 this year? Scott, what do you got?
I still am going to take a wait and see attitude about it, because remember, I covered the team last year when, they got to the playoffs, but they certainly didn't have all the latest, to me, gravitas that we have here in town. Yes, Lionel Messi's been an incredible addition, and not because of them, Pioneer Park, down in Miami, or I think it's, I'm trying to remember the name, that eludes me, but they're building a new stadium in Miami worth $25,000, and they're going to renovate that district, and it's going to be a great thing. Everybody knows that South Florida has always been a good soccer area. But I go back to the Fort Lauderdale Strikers days, and that's where I actually got one of my first starts as a writer, and I needed a full-time beat, and that was one of them. At that time, I covered the Fort Lauderdale Yankees and the Miami Dolphins, Miami Hurricanes. So I think it's Miami Freedom Park now that I think about it. It comes back to me. Thank you. But the whole thing is there's no question in my mind that Inter Miami's heading in the right direction. But did you see the score they had last night against Nashville? They went ahead, drew 0-0, and Lionel Messi proved he was human and didn't score a goal. I don't know if you guys noticed that. That's no indictment against Lionel Messi. He, to me, is a league changer. He really is. There's no question that Phil Neville, by the way, is a coach that I worked with last year, and yet inside of a year he's gone. I mean, you think about an organization that takes 180. This took a 360 is what it did. It really did within the last year. So it's good that Times Square. They can stream it and do whatever they've got to do. I never thought this was unthinkable, but I guess it's attributed to where technology's gone and the different numerous ways that you can go out there and get shows. And as far as I'm concerned, Inter Miami looks awfully good in this thing. They really, really do. And now we're learning more about being able to go out there and stream it in Times Square. That's unheard of. Then again, I think this whole show should be retitled Unheard of, because we've already hit the 3 topics that are unheard of anyways, but Jacob, good title anyways. But that's what yeah, more power for Inter Miami. And I just think it's amazing what Lionel Messi. But let's not put too much on this guy. Okay, he just came here, and he's going to need the offseason to make sure he can freshen his legs a little bit, play a lot of extra soccer. But you know what? They're going to get a fresh start in 2 years and 25, and the area has definitely benefited by his presence of building soccer in this market, without a doubt.
Right, and I'm sitting here thinking about everything you said, and I mean it's the bright lights of Miami. It's almost like LeBron coming to Miami all over again, right? Someone just as polarizing as Messi, and regarded at any given time the 1 or 2 best soccer player in the world, and it's like now he's here, and that's the beauty behind them getting this revenue. And you mentioned Messi being human, because he may be the best soccer player in the world, but at the end of the day, he's human. It's like that question that we've always asked about LeBron and Tom Brady: when is Father Time going to catch him? You would think this would be the time to take some of that revenue you're bringing in and go build that man a team, because I'm sure he didn't just come to Inter Miami just to play soccer. He wants another trophy under his belt.
Yeah, and I should point out too, we talk about Miami Freedom Park, right? Well, the current facility is 19,000 or 21,000 if they've expanded it. DRV-PNK Stadium, that's a great place. I can tell you right now, many, many organizations would love to have that in Fort Lauderdale, which I think is more centrally located. But I understand that David Beckham said they were building it in Miami, and the area that they're talking about building in Miami is fantastic from what I've heard. So, but DRV-PNK Stadium, and I've been there, like I say, as I mentioned last night, it's a great facility. And they have a great training center, which used to be on the site of Fort Lauderdale Stadium as well. So things are looking awfully good. So, all right, just want to incorporate that before you go around.
Oh, no problem. I mean, don't get me wrong. They got a whole lot going for themselves, like building and everything. But we all know the fastest way to get people in the seats is to win. Messi did not come to South Beach to just look at women tan all day. He wants an MLS Cup. With that being said, swinging on over to George.
He could go to Italy for that, and he could go to Morocco for that, or he can go to anywhere to see a woman tan.
Been there, done that. Even I've done that. George, on you, buddy.
Well, the value of the Miami franchise is going to go up as long as he's there, if he's part of it. Or like you're saying, the key is going to be building it and building upon it, the new stadium and other additional revenue that can come forward. But you're talking about a league here that turned its back on Detroit. You're talking about a bunch of owners and a commissioner who said, "Oh, I don't want Dan Gilbert's money. I don't want Martha Ford's money, and I don't want Tom Gore's money." So to hell with them. That's what I say. You snubbed Detroit. No, you gave franchises, expansions to every city under the sun. But no, you snubbed Detroit because you says, "Oh, no, you can't play in Ford Field. We want a foot soccer only stadium." So all that being said, I don't follow the league after what they did to Detroit. Am I happy for Inter Miami? Of course. This is a good move. Obviously, getting somebody of that value. And it's been done before with Pele and Trevor Francis.
Right.
Yes, Scott.
Hey, George, I'm with you all the way there, too, because I've always wondered, you know what? You had the Atlanta team and Seattle playing in football stadiums.
Exactly.
Why did stay Detroit in any good when you can, and especially the Atlanta facility? Jacob, obviously you live in that area. I saw the Jaguars stick on the Falcons there. What do they call them? Atlanta United, I think is what they're called over there.
Yep.
And they section off, I believe, a certain thing, and they got. So you're telling me it's okay in Atlanta, but not Detroit?
It doesn't make sense at all. There was not a good reason for them to deny Detroit. If there was other reasons, please let us know. But Dan Gilbert even had a plan to build a new soccer-only stadium on a site that's right near Ford Field, but it never got started. But all that being said, anytime you get a star quality, an athlete like this, plus his persona is just worldwide attention, it's a good thing. So it doesn't surprise me. I really think that things are going to, grow for that league. It's just not going to grow where I'm at.
Yeah, and isn't the space where the Silver Dome, isn't it still open, or is there something built there now?
No, they're building like Amazon and warehouse type of buildings like that there. The
Okay.
space that's open, they still haven't decided where's the Palace where the Pistons played. They haven't decided what's going to go there yet. But no. They wouldn't want to build a soccer only stadium. They want to have it downtown somewhere where all the other stadiums are downtown.
Right.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, excellent take on it. I definitely would feel. I mean, I see George is going off right now, and I had memories of when Bud Adams took the Oilers out of Houston. Like, screw that guy, But
Art Modell, Cleveland Browns.
Oh boy, Jim, or the coach.
Irsay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I like it when George. You know what? I like it when George goes off, man. I've seen it over the years.
And I was just like, dude, isn't it the other way around? Scott's usually the aggressor, and he just kind of passed that baton to
George. I mean, Scott's usually the aggressor, and George is kind of like Kwai Chang Caine from the Kung Fu.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but you know what? Let me
Let
tell you something here. You got to understand this foursome here. George Eichhorn has a trigger point too, and you just hit it, and you hit it big. No sports in Oakland County. I used to love sports in Oakland County. Here's how we had it worked out over the years. I took the Lions and the Pistons a lot more. George, you got the Tigers and
the Red Wings
and the Red Wings. So every now and then we would cross into counties. I would go down to Wayne County to do the Wings and the Tigers. But we knew our boundaries. I loved Oakland County. He was a Wayne County boy, although I was born in Wayne County back in the day, way back then, six decades ago.
No, absolutely. And
I was going to bring that up, Ballreich. I was going to bring that up along with mine.
We're going to round up
but I love it when Eichhorn goes off. It's a beautiful thing.
I do too.
Yeah, and he's justified. I mean, it's like you got all these plans to put a team in place, like you have to do nothing, and then you just get denied. Yeah, something under the table's going on. That might be another talk for another day.
Yeah, and that is true. I was going to bring because I knew those numbers. Those numbers. So it's about Detroit. Yeah, minus 3%. Atlanta just hit 7 million people. Metro Atlanta just hit 7 million.
Yeah, but here's the biggest issue in Detroit. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt, but when you got Tom Gore's, the Fords, and Dan Gilbert's money, you got 3 billionaires. How can you deny a team with 3 billionaires?
Oh no! But this is what the thing was. When you brought up Atlanta, you were correct on that. But when the Atlanta United came in, it was a brand new stadium. Like literally, they opened it before the Falcons did. So the brand spanking new. Ford Field's not. I mean, Ford Field's beautiful, but it's not new. And
didn't they play a college
No, George, I agree with George, I agree with you. I'm in agreement with you. Shouldn't be. It's beautiful, but it's like that is what they're going to be looking at.
They just spent the Ford family just spent Scott, another 17 or 20 million to enhance the place. It's only been around since 2005. That's still new.
I know. Oh no, you're talking 18 years. It's like there's places leaving in 20 now. That's the craziest part. And I'm agreeing with you, George.
You know what? You can say what you want about the Detroit Lions. Let's criticize their record. Let's face it, they've earned that. But the one thing the Lions will never be accused of doing is they'll never, ever threaten a municipality. They'll move their team unless you build a stadium. They never did that. They stayed with the Silverdome. I remember for a long time. It wasn't until the Silverdome and Pontiac made the dumbest move of them all. Didn't renegotiate that lease. And the Lions said, well, we're threatening to leave Pontiac, but we're going back to down to Detroit. And what do you think the NFL people did? No problem. I mean, really, once upon a time, you ever heard of Tiger Stadium? It was good, multi-purpose. Lions played there. Tigers played there. Nobody plays there now.
Well, the Lions are kind of like a cornerstone NFL franchise. So is it fair to say the NFL would not let them leave Detroit even if they tried?
Yeah, but they weren't going to do it anyways, Jens. Come on, let's hear me out, bro. Okay, here's the thing. William Clay Ford would never do that. He's got the Ford Motor Company in his backyard. He said, I don't care. They're not leaving Metro Detroit. We're just leaving counties. He wouldn't do that. Think about all these municipalities here, okay, for a minute. They're holding everybody hostage. Build me a new stadium or I'm gone. Think about it, right? Cleveland, Houston,
Chicago Bears.
Right? Yeah. Well, but not here. Detroit never held their people hostage at all. They just built
And George, I'm in agreement with you with what you were saying. I wasn't saying that Ford Field's bad or what Detroit is doing. I wasn't saying that at all.
Okay.
What I was saying is the way that the leagues are thinking. They also look. I knew the -3% of Detroit. They were looking at those things. I'm saying as I said, Atlanta opened a brand spanking new place that United basically opened themselves. It's like everything's the flashy, the new, the everything, and that's what happened.
I know that, Jacob, but the thing is you can't look at just the population of Detroit because the teams are still drawing. You know, the Red Wings are selling out now. The Lions are selling out. So I don't buy a lot of stock in that -3% because you're looking at a 3 or 4 county area, not just where the team's located. So yes, the city population is down, and I appreciate Jeremy sharing that with us. But the fact of the matter is the kids are still playing soccer, whether it's Detroit, whether it's 10 miles away in Pontiac or 15 miles in Ann Arbor or wherever. I'm just, picking other cities nearby here. People will come to see that team, even if the population has suffered a little bit, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, but let me interject here. Okay, you're talking about the city population of Detroit. Anybody ever heard of the word metro? Metro Detroit. Okay, we're talking about suburbs. Okay, SUBURBS. Okay, I think I spelled that right. I'm almost sure I did.
You're talking to the spelling master. Yes, you did.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Now you're getting us both to rant. Of course, then it was just a matter of time before I blew a gasket, anyways.
Yeah, you were on tap for that.
Yeah, well, that's okay. It is what it is. Now,
with a Bud Light in tap
on the air. But here's the thing: Metro Detroit. Forget about the city stuff. I don't even care about none of that stuff. That doesn't mean Metro Detroit. Those crowds will always be big. If you're mediocre, they're going to draw great. What do you think happens when you have championship caliber? We talk about Atlanta United opening up that, christening that new. So what? Ford Field and me, been in it a few times. It's a dynamite place, and let me tell you, the Lions will keep soaking money into it anyway, so it doesn't matter. They're not going anywhere.
Right.
So whether it's 20 years old or 20 days old, it got nothing to do with it because Ford's figure they're going to continue to upgrade. The Lions have always been stable wherever they've gone. Remember that, okay? They were at Tiger Stadium for a lot of years, stayed at Silverdome for a lot of years, and now they're going to stay at Ford Field for as long as I'm alive, and maybe I'll watch it from way up north with the rest of my family members. All I have to do is take a Jetsonmobile across I-94 to get there and look through the dome. I'm kidding with you, but whatever.
Well, I have one thing that I'm going to bring this part up with the MLS now and what the situation.
Yeah,
it was 11. It was 11 to. He's at 11 goals in 7 games. It means he's having an easier time than he would have in like the Premier Leagues and the La Ligas and whatever he was in. He's having the easier time. It ain't going to be easy much longer because the new big players will show up. And then you are going to, and guess what? This is with these big stars. You're going to see them in an exhibition in like AT&T Stadium. You're going to see them in the exhibition in Atlanta. You're going to see them in this 70, 80, 90,000 people. And they're going to fill those stadiums because, as we said, and people can laugh that aren't paying attention, that it's soccer. 92,003 people just watched a volleyball game.
Right.
In a football stadium and a women's volleyball game to boot. So Guess what? This world is changing.
Yeah, but let me tell you, you can say that, okay? And I'm with you there. We all know it's changing, okay? Unless you got people out there decide if it's changing for the better or the worse. But here's the thing. As I've reiterated on many shows, and I mentioned it in my book, okay? George Richards is a respected columnist here in Miami, calls the MLS AA soccer. Is what he does. And that made my book. Can you believe that? AA soccer? Mm-hmm. And you know what? The MLS was intended to be built after, I think, the 94 World Cup to try to produce World Cup prospects. And you know what? The United States men's national team still hasn't won a World Cup. And until the MLS does what it's intended to do and produce quality prospects to try to make the United States competitive in the international market, I still struggle with the league because I still think a lot of the leagues in Europe and perhaps in Argentina, wherever they are still going to be king. And the MLS's job right now, we can talk about this subject until we're blue in the face. I'll do a no limit show on it if I have that much juice or whatever. Professor and people will find a way to talk about it. But the reality is this: until the MLS could prove to me that you could produce enough good American prospects and be World Cup relevant, I'm still not drinking the Kool-Aid. It's a legitimate league.
That's a very good point, Scott, that you bring up about that, because the United States has never been ever even close to tasting a championship in the World Cup. That being said, they are going to host it again, but we don't know when. I mean, they got the Olympics coming up in Los Angeles again, but the World Cup, obviously, what a great job they did in '94 when it was here. And the Silverdome, yes, they did play games at the Pontiac Silverdome. I covered those games, and it was fun. And they grew grass inside the Silverdome, which was unheard of. So
Wow.
Detroit loves soccer. They were able to get 2, 3, 4 games in that early round of '94's World Cup, thanks to guys by the name of Roger Faulkner and Gordon Preston and people like that. And I think Roger Penske was involved. So Detroit has a taste for soccer. They sell out every game in a small town called Hamtramck, Michigan, which is it was a Polish town in Detroit boundaries. Hamtramck, if you don't know the history of it, was all founded by the Polish folks. But now it's a multi-ethnic town. And yes, they do sell out every game. It's called the Detroit City FC Football Club, and they're doing a great job. And they might be, Scott, on that scale, A ball instead of double A ball. But still, all I'm saying is the people love it. They pack the place, and they get 10,000 people there every game.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay.
Hey, let's see.
Well, I think we dragged this topic out pretty good there, didn't we?
Yeah, this is actually a really good one. We'll go on to our final topic here.
One real quickly, I was going to say, you're right, but one real quickly here, I was going to say this. You talk about the United States winning a World Cup, never winning it, I mean. Here's the thing. You watch the world despise us when it happens. Despise us. And I'll tell you why. And you know why this is, Denzel. It's because most of the world uses the World Cup. I mean, you are a hero. You get free food for life. You are a world hero inside of like your country that you get a World Cup. United States wins a World Cup. We'll celebrate about 4 days. When's the season start? When's football? When's basketball? And then it's kind of like we'll throw it to the side. They'll piss so many people around the world off because we won't even care in comparison to them.
Yeah, no, I can see that. And also, to add to that before we go on to our last topic is, aside from soccer and maybe basketball, the United States is kind of, dominates every sport just about.
That's the thing. So if they start dominating soccer, then there's the real hate because that's a monopoly on everything now.
Exactly. I agree. When they win the World Cup, it's like, wow, we can't have nothing now. Y'all taking soccer too.
Yeah, well, don't hold your breath on that one for a while, so you're okay on the international world.
No, we're fine. We're fine on that.
Yeah, Iran will get their chance.
On to our last topic here, and that is Luis Rubiales and Spain's women's soccer. So those of you all who don't know what happened, so La Roja defeated England 1-0 in a pretty huge victory, seeing as they beat England. So Luis Rubiales actually kissed midfielder Jennifer Hermoso. He said it was consensual. Hermoso felt violated. The team refused to play. They refused to take the field. And the Spanish Federation is now threatening legal action. And just this past weekend, Rubiales was suspended by FIFA. So, wow. A real huge mess on one's hands. Start over with Scott. Scott, what do you got on this one? Actually, no, wait. You said you wanted to go last. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They wanted me first.
All right, we'll go in reverse. So, Jacob, what do you got?
All right. Here's the thing. This isn't, and I'm just saying this for the world, United States, the cities, the counties, everything. This isn't Entourage anymore. This isn't, you watched Entourage, right, Denzel? Mm-hmm. This isn't Vinny Chase saying his little things and taking one little word, doing a wink and taking the woman back. You do have to, the game's still there for men, for women, but you have to work a little harder. You can't just touch them anymore. This isn't James Bond, Sean Connery anymore. You can't do that anymore. And then, see, the thing is, someone made a really good point. Actually, I was talking to Jen today. She made a good point. The Spaniards and Italians do that, but they've done that. They're not trying to make it consensual, unconsensual. They do it to men too. But the thing is, Me Too did a wonderful thing of getting rid of, Harvey Weinstein and a lot of slime. It did a wonderful job. It also ruined itself by the linking up the idea that you could look at a cute girl's butt and it links it to Harvey Weinstein. So they ruin themselves because people don't take it seriously. At the same time, what it did do is it said what it said right there. You can't just touch a woman like that anymore. You can't do this type of thing because, yes, you used to have the women that loved that kind of thing. You got to remember that little picture in World War II. You guys will ever say this. It's like you where you kiss the woman, do all that kind of stuff. You used to have something like that. You can't do that anymore. There's that whole thing. There's that whole deal there. It doesn't mean there's no game to try to get the woman. It means you have to work a bit harder. You have to know how to talk to them, communicate, do that stuff to get them, and it has to be consensual. And that's what Me Too did bring out of the whole thing. And look at this thing now. They're not going to play until he's gone. They said this themselves, and there's fines, and there's all that stuff. They have the power now. They didn't have power before. So there's things we have to look at in the middle of this whole thing. It's like someone like Rubiales is probably going to be mad he doesn't have the power he used to. Even 5-6 years ago, he could probably do that with no problem. Some liked it, some didn't.
Right.
Not anymore, because the ones that might even still like it are going to just kind of shake their head and look around as someone watching. And the ones that do not like it will definitely spout. And you can't blame them.
Right.
So it's gone. I mean, that time of the world is gone. And what did Jeremy say, by the way? I didn't see that.
He has to get ready for a show.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that's the thing. That's the thing with this. It's like, okay, men, this is the thing I'm saying to you. Yes, there's still a game. Like we talk about that, there's the game to get the woman's attention. Like whatever. There's the game. There's still the game. Women still love a strong man. You just have to learn to communicate. And you're having a hard time with that when you're on the phone 24/7. Learn to communicate. Learn to get them, and it'll be consensual. You don't have to worry about this anymore.
Right. Long gone are the days, and mind you, we're, talking about a powerful man here, of course, money-wise, but now even they're saying that no longer matters, but I want to swing it over to
There's still powerful men. They just have to know it themselves. But there's going to be equally powerful women now. That's the big difference.
It's just, all I'm saying is there was a point in time, and I mean, let's face it, it's still kind of like that nowadays, It's just in this case, it's like, oh, well, I'm a guy with a lot of money. Well, that's not, mattering now because your team won't play, brother. They won't play. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I want to swing it over to George and get your thoughts about this whole thing.
Well, Jacob nailed it. I mean, it's my whole thing was, he picked out one lady. If he was going to do something like this and give a congratulatory kiss, he would have went right down the line. He would have done everybody. Well, he didn't. And not only that, but there's some that says, oh, well, she tried to hug him first. If you look at some of these still pictures that she was being affectionate to him before that kiss took place. Oh, that still doesn't get it for me. Okay. It doesn't get it done. No, if you ever do this in a public setting at a championship event like that, you know how the Italians and a lot of ethnic groups, they kiss like to the side, somebody's face. You know what I mean? They just like rub cheeks together. But no, they don't go. They don't go on the lips.
Nope.
You never do it that way. Biden ran into all kinds of problems. I remember in the election when he was running. I don't want to bring politics in, but he was getting touchy-feely. Some people felt. So nowadays, you just can't do that, and you really shouldn't do that. But like I said, if the guy was going to congratulate every lady with a kiss, that would have been different. You remember that crazy fool, Richard Dawson? He'd get on that Family Feud, and he'd make sure he kissed every one of them on the lips. And my wife would say, oh, why is he doing that?
And would ask, and he'd ask. And they'd say yes or no.
Well, they eventually stopped it, but not right away, because it's a different world, like you said, Jacob, right now, and the Me Too movement and all this. But no, he should not have done it. He should not have done it. And he does deserve discipline. And I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Sign of the times change. Just like, Jacob said, and you did, George, the things that, they could do and get away with back in the 1980s is not near like that anymore, but
that's Ric Flair.
Exactly. I want to round this out with Scott. And Scott, what do you got to say about this?
Well, I've absorbed this. This is pretty interesting. I like the fact that George mentions Richard Dawson. Yeah, I guess he was a kissaholic, wasn't he, with them? But
Yeah.
It's fun to watch though. But he was
Yeah.
so chill about it. You know what I mean? He wasn't forcing them. He wasn't doing it. He was just cool about it.
hey, listen,
Doing
Richard
this.
Dawson was one of my favorite shows of all time. Hogan's Heroes. Leave him alone, all right?
Oh yeah.
But here's the thing, and I really am not going to say a lot. There are topics that get more animated. There's some that I'm not. And this is one of them. 10 to 15 years ago, when you didn't have cameras and you didn't have social media to speak, this is a non-story. It just is.
Yeah.
It'd be like comparing MLB players many back years ago, where, how many times did a reporter look the other way when a player said something to him that he didn't want heard? These stories do we wish we had that never came to fruition? When you think about it, a little thing called trust. 10, 15, 20 years ago. Hey, remember, I'm writing a school book, right? Let me remind you again, okay? Old school media versus new school media. From now on, for the rest of my life, I'll be able to go back in my book. I won't treat that book like Linus goes out there and hugs a, what does he hug?
The Great Pumpkin?
No, I know. Is it Linus with a blanket, I believe, if I remember right? But I'll be able to take my book one day when I get it printed out, and hug it, old school versus no school media. Remember about this luisrubiales? I'm not very good at pronouncing, and it's a non-story. It's old school versus new school media. Maybe the public back then, 15, 20 years ago, looks the other way, but evidently...
Well, the public wouldn't have cared.
In the court of public opinion, I guess it was a bad move. All right, go ahead.
No, the public wouldn't have cared then. But see, we're in the little thing. You're talking to somebody like me who every single time you hear something, they just went after Martha Stewart because she had a big block of ice for her cocktails. And they're like, it's global warming. Like, shut up. Right. Get a life, people. But see, that's a get a life, people. That you need to say shut up to them, keep saying shut up, and they'll be gone in 2 days. This is not one of those that's ever going to be gone 2 days, and it shouldn't be. Because, like we said, it's like you've got aging men that still think this is the world that they grew up with. Mm-hmm. And that's the way they used to do things with women. And it's like, and so they still think this. It is not. So then you've got young men who do not know, and they don't know how to communicate because they're on the phone all the time. So then now you have less and less marriages, less and less everything. Because you got men that are scared half to death. The simple truth of it is this. The game still exists. Learn communication. Learn how it works. Study. Period. End of story in this new world. Because no, you don't have to physically accost them.
Not the end of the story now, because now you triggered me again. Okay, you really triggered me. All right, let's get me triggered on something I'm not that smart about, so don't crucify me in the chat room too much, okay? I'll say it again. 20 years ago, it's a non-story. How they do things across the big pond, another story, okay? When I've seen some of the behavior that takes place at these games overseas, I never thought I'd see fans dashing and running all over people over these kinds of things. So I agree with you. Let's face it. I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole in terms of right or wrong. Obviously, in the court of public opinion, it wasn't very good. And public opinion is a million times wider than it used to be because of social media, cameras, and all that business. Again, I will say it one more time. Please, folks, don't get upset with me. It was a non-story 20 years ago. Now it doesn't go away in 2 days. Well, you know what? It may not go away a long time, and it's going to matter. They're still going to play soccer out there regardless of what happens, however they're going to do it.
No. Hey, folks, get mad at me. I dare you. He'll say, don't get mad at me. I'm saying, please, come at me.
he lives for the smoke. Go ahead, George.
And I was going to say, and how can people get a hold of Jacob?
Let's see. Jake the pundit.
Yeah, all right. We'll get to that in a minute.
That's for the end. That's for the end.
You segued right into it.
Right. But actually, this is toward the end of the show now, and I want to swing it over to the valedictorian of Tribune University himself, Scott Morgan-Rath, for the valediction. Take it away.
Oh, Denzel, I knew I had to get you to go out there and build the props up again, as you so kindly did when you were on the other on another network. But here we go. All right, that concludes this edition of Pundit's Pundit. There was no shortage of energy and information on this, and again, there never really is. And this is why we've assembled this foursome, and just as other individuals will eventually circulate into this. Right now, the four of us are hogging the stage for ourselves. It doesn't matter. Great job, though, Candy, in the chat room. We should be getting all the comments up, and Jeremy's participation has been nothing short of outstanding. But anyways, let me just go out there and say this again. Okay, that Pundits Pundit is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of Pundits Pundit can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. And I emphasize to a lot of people that hearing it audio is just as important as seeing it on video, because not everybody has access to being visual. And that's the one thing we take pride at here. Please also hit the red subscribe button on YouTube South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers over the 900 mark. Let's take her home. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Participate in the chat room or send your topic ideas, southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter @TribuneSouth. Candy Ebling's been behind the scenes. She's been on shows all week. She's an MVP in every sense of the word. And I'm really glad that she's a big part of the network, as I am with everybody that participates. So with that said, Denzel, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
Top Rope Talk, Mondays at 7 Eastern with myself. I'm the sniper. He's the pundit. We have All Pro Wrestling all the time. This coming Monday, we will likely do an AEW All Out recap. We'll also have the latest on Monday Night Raw, NXT, more AEW, and WWE SmackDown, and our weekly Finish or DQ. Wednesday, Confidential. Also, Thursdays right here, Pundit, and Fridays, The Gauntlet.
Well done.
And the next week. And the next week after that, we're going to do a review, video review once a month. This one will be Terry Funk versus Stan Hansen in Japan.
All right, programming note, by the way, I'm glad you brought that up. Next Wednesday night, we're going to air Pundits Pundit. No way we're competing with the NFL opening night. No way. George Eichhorn and I have a vested interest anyways with the Lions and the Chiefs. But we're not competing with the NFL opening night. We know when to win. We know when we can. So next Wednesday night, you'll see Pundits Pundit. Okay. All right, Jacob, go ahead.
What you see there, Jake the Pundit on Twitter, where I am so meek and mild, you would not believe. And then, Jake the Pundit 1 on Jake the Pundit 1 on TikTok, where I just hit 1,000 followers. 10,000, I can get paid. Start getting paid. So let's get it moving. So we got that. Sundays, I am with the professor and the pupils, but on the Sunday mornings. I mean, sometimes. No, we're working on it. Monday nights, we brought it up. The top rope to talk. And this week's going to be regular show. Next week is going to be the MST 3K version with the video. We're going to try that with the Japanese, with our Japanese and European matches. One per month. We're doing that one the next week after that. Wednesday nights is this coming week is Pundits Pundit, but then normally it's confidential, and then the South Florida Tribune, this is the Sports Exchange. Thursdays is here normally. Next week won't have anything. Fridays, when I'm called off the bench, depending on which, I'm on the Gauntlet. Plus, working on a couple movie things. I just got finished with a movie.
Very good. Yeah, like I said, Wednesday night you'll see Pundits Pundit and the Sports Exchange. It'll be a great doubleheader for sure. All right, last but not least, the other author.
Author. Detroit sports broadcasters on the air. Again, I'm always supporting my local city. Support your local author.
Support your local sheriff.
Yeah, that too. Don't forget, there's a link to purchase the book, and Scott's in the book, and Ernie Harwell, our dear friend, and the Lions have always had great announcers too. Bob Reynolds and Van Patrick, Mark Champion, Jim Brandstetter, Dan Miller, they're all in the book. So all these guys that are familiar to a lot of our listeners and readers, there's a link to purchase the book at the end of my column. I write under the South Florida Tribune banner for the Motor City Tribune, along with Scott and Jeremy and a lot of other authors. And also you can see me on 108 Stitches and Inside the Pigskin, the Sports Exchange, Fire Up, and this wonderful show. I love it. I love all you guys, and it's been a great show tonight. And yeah, you got me fired up. So, hey, you can reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com or LinkedIn or X, formerly Twitter, at SandGSports99.
Well, I'll
Soon
say
enough,
this.
your wife's going to go when you get fired up. Will you shut up?
Yeah.
Hey, listen, you know what? I'll never forget when Jacob said, I wanted George and I'm willing to do it a different night. Well, we delivered, right, Jacob?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm glad to be
And
with
tonight
you
it's
guys.
just one of those classic reasons why that move worked out quite well. So,
Definitely.
but that said, this concludes this edition of Pundits Fun at Fire Up. Will be on at 9:30 Eastern time. Myself and George, Jeremy Ballrick, and Ralph Williams will be at the controls of that one. So once again, we hope everybody enjoyed our show. And really, please join us for the Fire Up. And if you don't, have a great weekend, and we will catch you next week. It is Labor Day weekend, so everybody gets that extra day off. Be safe and careful, and we will catch you the next time. So once again, on behalf of George Eichhorn, Denzel Stipes, Jacob Christopher, my name is Scott Morgan, Motor City Manmouth. Thank you for joining us. We will catch you at another time. Have a great night, and thank you very much for joining us.